Hey, everybody. Welcome to the Dan Owolabi podcast. I'm Dan Owolabi, and I'm excited that you're here with me. Let me just get started. One of the biggest questions I get over and over and over again is, how the heck do you say this guy's last name? I get this question in every country I go to, every city I speak in. And so what I want to do as we're starting this podcast together, and I'm excited that we're doing this together, what I want to do is I want to give you a quick story to help you understand how to say my name. So when you hear the story, you'll never mispronounce it again. And come on now, there's a lot of bad things in the world. There's honestly nothing worse than somebody mispronouncing your last name, right? All right, so here it is. Basically, you have to imagine yourself at a hotel and it's late at night and you're sleeping, and all of a sudden you wake up in the morning. It's middle of the morning and late at night, and you wake up in the morning and you realize that you're thirsty and you want a drink with some ice. And so you realize the ice is outside your room, and so you grab your ice bucket, you're tired, you go over to the elevator, and you know that the ice is on the second floor. And so you go into the elevator with the ice bucket, and you press a button, the door closes, and all of a sudden you start going down. But you realize halfway along the way that you actually pressed the wrong button. You're on the third floor and you go past the second floor, and all of a sudden you go down to the very bottom. The door opens, you walk out, you look around, and you're like, oh, a lobby. That's how you say my name. I'm Dan Owolabi. So you'll never forget it. That's an easy way to understand it. There's a couple things about me that you got to know. Number one, I love leadership. I love understanding how leaders work. Not just because they are really interesting people and they're doing pretty incredible things, but it takes a certain type of development, a certain type of character to become a leader that people want to follow. And I've been absolutely curious about what it is around the world that makes somebody, just an average person in the middle of Tanzania, turn into the type of leader that can change their community. There's certain things that you can learn about what great leaders do, regardless of what country you're from, what generation you're from, where your geography is, what your gender is, what your race is. There's things that are true about leadership over and over and over again. And so I want to make sure that you understand what those are so you can start becoming the best leader possible. A couple things about me, though, that you got to know. Number one, grew up in a small town from Midwest Ohio, or Northeast Ohio. It's kind of where my family grew up. For me, I was one of three kids. My mom and dad were both deaf, meaning they couldn't hear. That's an absolute unique thing. I don't find very many codas around. So I'm fluent in sign language. It's the only language that I speak. My mom and dad both came to the United States when they were in their probably early 30s. And both of them really were passionate about education. So they came from Nigeria to the United States. They got their education here. I was born here in the States. But for them, chasing opportunity, leading your life first, and then leading others from that was just a normal sort of action. And so I get to watch them lead people who are completely different from them. Very few people in our circle were Nigerian, deaf, immigrants. And I got to watch them lead people who were completely different from them. So, for example, my mom was a professor at this university close by. My dad was a pastor, also professor as well. And they consistently led people who were very, very different from them. So it was exciting to watch how leadership worked on the inside. And that was the example that I grew up with. So something you got to know about me. One thing I'm really passionate about is helping leaders maximize their impact. One of the things I hate is people who want to be leaders, but don't do the hard work that it takes to become a leader. Here's what I mean by that. There's two different dimensions of leadership, what I'll call the front stage and the backstage. The front stage is all about the things that people see. It's the way you lead a meeting. It's the way you speak. It's the way you present yourself. It's how you write an email. It's all that stuff, right? It's the decisions you make that everyone can see. This is what leadership looks like. And then there's the backstage, which is significantly more important. It's the practice and the prep that you do before you get to the front stage, like a play. And so that backstage is really all about your character. It's about your quiet time. It's about your mental models. It's about the way you see the world. It's about how you react to people when they slight you or they disrespect you or they don't give you all the clout and the courtesy that they should. It's your personal character. It's your sense of peace and presence. It's being a non-anxious person in an anxious environment. All of those things are way more important than the front stage. And what I see more often than not, and what I'm really passionate about with leadership, is helping people understand the value of the backstage and getting into the details around the backstage. So what I want to do is I want to talk to you about all the things that happen on the backstage so that when you get to the front stage, it's significantly easier because you've done all the hard work before anyone has seen you, before you show up to any meeting, before you give any speech, before you lay out any strategic plan, before you cast any sort of vision, you've done all the hard work on the backside. Yeah, so I've got a number of unique skills. And here's the thing, everybody has unique skills, right? There's things that you've been given that you just don't know why you're good at it. You just happen to be better at it than other people. And so sometimes you take credit for it. Hopefully you don't, because you know it's not necessarily about you. I've got my own set of skills that I'm just really good at. Number one, I read very, very quickly. I can read a lot of books in a very short amount of time. And so I really enjoy sort of gathering information. That's a lot of fun for me. I also can speak off the cuff pretty quickly. I've known a lot of really smart people who do a lot of great work outside of their sort of own sphere. And what I found is that when it comes to just answering a question off the cuff, they stumble because they need a lot of research. They need a lot of time. They have to prep. For me, I just, for some reason, have the gift of gab. So there you go. I don't know why it is, but it is what it is. Another thing that I think I'm really good at is I'm really good at connecting with just anyone who's into something that's interesting. For me, I love asking questions. I love going deeper. I love helping people tease out the small intricacies about why they think the way they think, why they did what they did, what the source of their reasoning was, all that stuff. So I love interviewing people. I love getting behind the scenes. So if you and I were in a conversation at a party, you know that I'd be asking you a ton of questions. And before we're done, you might be crying about what your mom said to you in third grade. I don't know what, but it just seems to happen to me over and over and over again. So I love getting into the details of people. So, in regards to the things that I'm really passionate about, my life has always been lived at the intersection of faith and leadership. I got a degree in American history years ago when I was in undergrad. History teaching, I loved it. Was a history teacher for a while, then went to grad school and got another degree in American leadership, which was a ton of fun. That's what we were focusing on. And I learned a lot about how leaders all over American history, from pastors to presidents to professors, learned about how to lead people through really difficult seasons in American history. I saw the details behind how they did it, and I loved learning about that. And then I'm at the very, very end of a doctorate in global leadership. And that leads me into leading branches worldwide. I was a pastor for about 10 years, and I got to lead people in the United States domestically and understanding how they ticked and how to move them from a place of maybe apathy about their faith to passion about their faith. Then I got a chance to join Branches Worldwide and start that organization. What we do is we lead Christian executives, entrepreneurs, and owners from 28 countries around the world, and we help them build businesses that are designed to bless their communities. And we get to help them lead at a higher level, at a deeper level, and together we help them go further, faster. And so there's a lot of things that I love to do, but it's always been around the intersection of faith and leadership. So there's a number of things that I love to do to help people around the globe. One of the things that I love to do is speak. I'm a public speaker. I spoke at the Global Leadership Summit a couple of years ago, and just been a lot of fun to really help people from the stage. Speaking is an amazing opportunity to inspire people. But that's not everything, right? You can be inspired for about a day or two, but there's got to be other steps for you to actually become the leader that you are supposed to be. And so there's a whole consulting firm behind me that really works to help people become that type of leader. And so, within Branches Worldwide, we have consulting where we work with entrepreneurs around the globe. We have Branches Consulting Company that also works with for-profit organizations here in the States. And it's really all around this idea of helping you become the type of business that is able to really make a difference in your community. Sometimes that means strategic planning. Sometimes that means running better meetings. Sometimes that means putting in an EOS system, an entrepreneurial operating system. Sometimes that means hardwiring the values of the CEO, the executive, and the owner throughout the entire organization so everybody's walking in lockstep. And then you have clear metrics of accountability. You understand why you're doing it, and everybody understands where we're headed and whether or not we hit the mark. All those things are the things that we do as an organization. So it's not just the inspiration, it's also the instruction. It's also making sure that everything that we say on the stage gets implemented throughout the entire organization. So I love helping people in that way. Last thing, I love writing books. I wrote the book Authentic Leadership a couple of years ago, just got picked up by Harvard this last summer, which was a lot of fun to see. For me, I love communicating ideas, and whether that means in the organization, helping you hands-on with workshops and one-on-one executive coaching, or from the stage. I love it. So just between the two of us, I feel called to this work because leadership matters more than you know. If you know anything about American history, you know that there's been so many moments in history, world history, where major moments have turned on the character and the decision-making of a single leader. And what I find over and over and over again is that things don't get better unless the leader gets better. And the work they do behind the scenes, on the backstage, that kind of stuff matters far more than you think, not just for the leader, but for everybody underneath their influence. And so for me, studying American history, studying leaders around the globe with through branches worldwide, having written a book, studying a doctorate right now, recognizing there are some mechanics behind leadership that make great leaders. And then there's some things that you simply just don't do, and it's inevitably going to lead to your downfall, and it's going to hurt a lot of people in the process. So I feel very passionate about leadership, not just for leadership's sake, but for the sake of serving humanity. Leaders are the people that pull people to higher levels. And if we have more great leaders, we'll have a better world. So who's this podcast for? Well, if you're the kind of person who wants to build something that matters, if you have built something and you want it to matter, if you want something that you're doing right now to make a difference, not just for today, but possibly for eternity, then this is the type of podcast for you. You could be an executive leading a business. You could be an owner owning a business. You could be an entrepreneur. Heck, you could be a pastor who's building something absolutely incredible and you want it to last. What we are talking about in this podcast is how to build things that matter, how to make a difference in the world through your leadership, how to become the kind of leader that people want to follow and then are inspired after you're gone to continue the example that you set. It's all about you being the kind of leader today that people want to follow tomorrow. And we're not just going to talk about leadership platitudes. I have read all the generic leadership books, and I have no interest in talking about all the things that have been regurgitated. What I want to talk to you about today, though, is this idea that great leaders are the ones who understand the details. Great leadership isn't magic. It's mechanics. And they want to understand what's under the hood. They want to go deep. They want to understand the details behind good leadership. And that's what I want to do with you. I want to make sure that we're not talking about stuff that you've already heard. You're going to hear a fresh perspective here. You're going to listen to interesting guests who are doing interesting things. And at the end of the day, our number one goal is to help you become the kind of leader who can build something that matters.